In this video, I want to explain a little bit more about using the Replit compiler and other compilers that you're going to see later on in the coursework. So I'm in here in a new program, and you can see the default program that opens up in Replit. I've got the file name called main.cpp, and you're going to need that file name main for what we need to create a program and run it in Replit. This new chat agent thing, I haven't quite figured out how to get rid of it completely yet, but you know, you can just minimize the screen. What I want to explain about this is the format that you're going to see in your textbook, in my samples, in the samples from Professor Sorrentino. You're going to see the curly braces open and close on their own lines, so statements in between. So I want to explain whether you have it on the same line when you're starting out as the int main, or on its own line. It doesn't really matter, but this is what you're going to see in your textbook samples. So I recommend doing it this way. I like to see the open and then the close aligned in this way because you have less of an opportunity of making a mistake and forgetting one of them. The other thing I wanted to explain, and I think this was briefly mentioned in the other video, is this std library, the standard library. We will not need that. You'll see that that is not included in the examples in your book, and it's just more to remember for a new programmer. So instead, if you include this statement using namespace standard, this includes the standard library, and therefore then you don't need this std : : that can go away. And you'll notice that in the samples that are in the book or the samples that are in the videos. The other thing you're going to notice is that Replit will automatically indent a little here. That's important. Indentations and alignment are very important. It makes your code easier to read. It's easier for you to read. It's easier for someone like myself who's grading your code to read. I can quickly see whether or not you've included something or if something's missing, etc. So I just want to take this code as it is, hit run. Okay, go over to the console and see the results. So you see that the text hello space world exclamation mark is displayed in the console window. Now what is convenient is having your program on one side of your screen and the console window on the other. So you can click, what I noticed is you can click and drag. If you want it over, drag it over to the right. The console will appear over on the right, and then your code on the left. So that makes it much easier to work on your code and test at the same time. The other thing I want to draw your attention to in here is a \n. The \n is a new line character. Putting a backslash in front of a character like n indicates to the cout statement that it is an instruction. A / is much different. So notice that the \n, let's see if you can see it here. Let me run it one more time, see if it cleans up the window. It doesn't quite show it, but if I click in the window, notice that the prompt is on the new line. That's because there's a \n which creates a new line character that takes the prompt from the current. Okay, so try the /n here, and you'll see that the /n is not an instruction, so cout, the cout statement is going to display exactly what it finds in between the quotation marks. So when I hit run now, you'll see that the /n displays as part of its output. So another thing I want to demonstrate here, now let's say that you wanted to put in, well, let's see, I don't want to do an end L, but I do want to put these on two separate lines. So let's say I wanted to put in my \n here. This is going to create a new line character in between hello and world. So hello world, they're going to appear on two separate lines. So take a look at this. Right, and so you see that it's hello and then a new line character and then world. If you wanted to use an end L, you could use an end L here. So end L operates a little differently in that you have to close the quotation marks and you have to create a new section to your cout statement. So here is my end L, and again, then separate again to the next string. So what happens here is hello is going to display on the first line, then you're going to have a new line character using the end L, and then it's going to display the word world. So if I do this, I'm going to see the exact same output I just saw. When you're working with statements like this, you may want to move this to the next line, notice that there's a little bit of an indent. I like to indent even more to align your output operator so that you can tell that it's an incomplete statement on the first line. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is detecting errors. So if I make a small error, I'm going to remove the semicolon at the end. And notice that I get that little red triangle. If I hover my mouse over the triangle, it tells me it expected a semicolon after expression. Right? So if I go to run now, I will see error, and it tells me again, same thing, expected a semicolon after expression, and it points out it's arrowing right after world. So it tries to help you as to where your errors might be. So take note of that, because oftentimes if you try to Google an error like this, it's not always very helpful. In fact, it's not helpful at all. It's much more helpful to just take the time to read through your error here, look for where the indicators are in your code. So let me show you another example. Okay, so another thing you might see is, let's say you forgot your output operator, right, and you put end-L next to a string. Notice that it's throwing an error. You have the squiggly line underneath the end-L, so go ahead and hover your mouse and you'll see that the error message is not always that very helpful. Write a new line and flush the stream. This manipulator is often mistakenly used when a simple new line is desired, etc., etc., etc. So it doesn't always tell you exactly what the error might be. So be careful and try to pay attention to small details like that. Another thing you'll notice is that oftentimes if you do have an error, it might be on the line above where you'll see the error message. So sometimes when you have a missing semicolon, you might get flagged down here on line 8 when in fact the error is up on line 7. So just look out for opportunities like that. Notice if I forget my closing curly brace here, it does throw the error here, and it tells me that it expected a closing curly brace. If I try to run at this point, it'll say the same thing, right? So notice it says note to match this opening curly brace, and it shows you, gives you a little error where it expected it to be. So another thing to look out for. So let me fix that. One thing you're going to see in our book is at the very end, this return 0. So return 0 is an indicator to the operating system that the program terminated successfully. Not every IDE requires that you use this statement. So you notice that in Replit, you're not getting an error. So it is optional here, but some of the IDEs, some of the samples in your book are going to have this in there. So just so you know that best practice, always keep those in there because you don't know if you're going to be using an IDE that requires it. What you may notice is in several of the videos that Professor Sorrentino has made on the topics in this course, she uses another compiler. She typically uses the Visual Studio compiler. We stopped using that in our courses only because students found it very cumbersome to use, and it took up a lot of space on their computers. We then went to Dev C++, which was what I'm currently using in my face-to-face classes only because it is lightweight, easy to use. But the drawback with Dev C++ is that it doesn't work on a Mac. So you may see some videos where Visual Studio is used, where Dev C++ is used, or where Replit is used. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter which compiler we're using. The code is the same everywhere you go. So just you know, if you do see different compilers, it's not going to affect the program that you're seeing. If I could give you any advice when you're just starting out with learning to code, it would be don't use the internet so much as your guide. Really use your book and the samples that I provide. Use the videos from Professor Sorrentino. They're going to be the best resource at this point, because what I found is when you do Google error messages, when you do go run to the internet for some assistance with this, it oftentimes will be a very experienced programmer that's posting their solution or posting advice or whatever it is. So it's often not very helpful for somebody who's just learning. So keep that in mind whenever you encounter some of these compiler errors or small syntax errors like this. Go back to the samples in your book. I guarantee that you know, if you look closely, look for patterns, look for similarities, and it should set you straight. But you can always reach out to me if you have any questions.